Welcome to the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show, a broadcast service of globalbusinessnews.net.
This episode from the meeting room of Global TV Talk Show is brought to you by
The Bridge School, the accredited international online private school of choice, at bridgek12.org.
Porch Light Rental and Destination Services. Reduce your renter lump sum or managed relocation costs. Visit them at porchlightrental.com.
Cube Monk, featuring the world's first smart cube. Track your goods with our advanced GPS system. Welcome to the future of moving and relocation at cubemonk.com.
Primestone Partners, featuring corporate, government, and developer housing solutions, as well as senior-level advisory services. Find them at primestonepartners.com.
And by heirs.com. With our full range of services, we can help design and manage your international relocation. Find us at heirs.com.
Insured Nomads provides protection and peace of mind with health insurance, travel insurance, group, or tailored insurance for the globally mobile. Visit us at insurednomads.com.
And by International Auto Source. We are the vehicle experts for expats, featuring all major brands of automobiles with flexible solutions and financing. On the web at intlauto.com.
Become a global player in your field.
Cross Culture to Go provides virtual support for your global business and career success.
We can help you thrive in 140 plus countries and markets.
On the web at crossculturetogo.com.
This is Ed Cohen, your host on Global TV Talk Show, a service of globalbusinessnews.net. Go there and check it out. You're going to find some really interesting things. You're going to learn about our favorite charity, which is called findneurohelp.org. And that has to do with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and dementia. It's a good thing. We are honored today to have with us two people who've never met before, and they're using this global meeting room for conversation and introductions that I'm really honored and proud to moderate. So with us is Melinda Stallings from Austin, Texas today, and she is a professor at Louisiana State University, and she's a book author, and she's a trainer and a consultant and coach. She's written a book, which we're going to focus in on today, called The Power of Positive Conflict Resolution. Would you please hold up that yellow cover again?
Absolutely.
Right by the camera. The Power of Positive Conflict Resolution. And boy, is it needed today, not only having to deal with COVID, but all the BS in American politics today, never mind global politics. And with us is Payman Dayani, based in Tehran, Iran. And this is very cool. Welcome, Payman, to the talk show again. Payman is an executive at the C-suite level for Solico, which is a global food company that's based in Tehran with extensive operations across the Middle East and across Russia. They have had operations in Los Angeles, and perhaps after COVID, it will start up again. As you may know, there is a very large Iranian population in LA ever since the 70s, and has grown. And as a matter of fact, on Monday, I'm interviewing the grandson of an immigrant from Tehran who came over during that first wave of Iranian immigration into LA. And he is now a prominent LA-based immigration attorney. And so it's going to be a good show. And if either of you want to come on and meet this guy, that will be my honor. Great. So Melinda, you're now based in Austin. You moved from New Orleans area,
Yes.
where you fought off hurricane after hurricane, and now you got stuck in the snow, which never happens in Austin, right?
I go from one natural disaster to another.
That's great. So anyway, you look terrific and
Thank you.
so bright and cheery and very strong. Payman, thank you very much. I know it's late in your evening. I really appreciate you being with us tonight. And I would like to ask you now to just speak very briefly about your job, your role, and how it is in this COVID time.
Okay. My job is, as you explained about our company, it's to lead both side of the HR business, which is a people management, and as well as the HR management. I make a distinguish between the people management and HR management. I always call HR management is a process and the systems, which it's basically making sure the company runs the HR, the people life cycle according to the compliance rules and regulation, as well as the company's policies and procedures. The people management, which is the soft part of the HR, is dealing with the people and managing the people in the diverse background, cultures, and disciplines, educational levels. And I think that part is the most important part of the HR discipline and HR management, as I can mention. The reason is people are very diverse and they come from different background with the different beliefs, different languages, the different expectation and different aspirations. Therefore, I call every person who has one person under supervision is the HR manager and the people manager. And helping the people managers, which are the line managers, are very challenging task because they have the responsibility to deliver companies' results. And through the resources, which one of the most important resources is the people. And as we move from the first industrial revolution to the fourth, and we are in the merge of fifth generation society, it's very important to look at the people as the resources and the capital of the company, because more and more the manpower it's moved to the robots and to the digitized world, and what we left is people, and managing people is the most important things. And that's where I think my role makes it very challenging, especially working in different geographical area of the world, and it has a very diverse ethnic groups and different people with the different expectation and history.
Yeah,
That's my job day to
let me
day.
ask you if I may,
I hope I
Payman.
have explained.
Yes, you have. Thank you. We have a little bit of technical glitch here, but we'll try to work it out. So let me go back with you. You just mentioned about the fourth industrial revolution and getting ready for the fifth. So the fourth industrial revolution, which is still going on, this has to do with the introduction and infiltration of robots and technical into the workplace and people's lives. And the fifth, which is just beginning, is where people have to work hand in glove with robots and technology, right?
I think the fourth, it's more than the robotics, because on the third revolution, we experienced the introduction of the PLC robots and electronics long back. I mean, it's been around for more than 30 years now. The robotics part, and I think it started from the J management, with Chinese management. They introduced the robotics and PLCs to manufacturing, what they learned from the US. The fourth is digital transformation, which is the most of the we have a disruption of the business models. Many industries have impacted from this digital transformation. The fifth society, or the generation of the society, which the Japanese in economic forum have mentioned this, it's more to do with the society rather than the industry. And the prediction is when we have all the business models shifted and the change to the new era, which is very similar from my point of view, similar to the first industrial revolution. When the first industrial revolution happened, everything changed. All the business models changed, and the labor became has its own identity, and it was so important that the first for the security of the world from the labor point of view, that's ILO, International Labor Organization. Even it's before the United Nations and the United League of the Society, the One and World War II. Interesting that at that time, the impact of the first revolution was too big that all the governments and all the people, they thought that it's very important to address the labor issues. Now, today, with the emerge of the new
I'm sorry, we're having difficulties with the VPN.
Emerge of in the first industrial revolution, what we have seen, we saw the pandemics, the Spanish influenza, and now we are seeing the COVID. There are many similarities, and I think within 10 to 15 years from now, the people management is become a most crucial and important subject to be addressed.
Thank you. So, Payman, this has been a really good session with you, and please stay with us. The VPN was acting up a little bit, so some of your explanations were garbled somewhat, but I think we got the message about the transitioning through the ages, through the industrial revolutions, and how companies have organized. We're going to come back to you in just a second, and I welcome you to comment or question and jump into a dialogue with me and Melinda. So Melinda, your book is a big seller, right? The Power of Positive Conflict Resolution. You gave a talk at Harvard about all this, and I can't imagine business people not wanting to get more from you to understand what makes you so positive about conflict resolution.
Well, Ed, I'll tell you.
May I interrupt 1 second? Sorry.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I wanted to congratulate Melinda as well for her book. I got a copy of the Kindle version of the book. I went through it. It's an excellent book. I really appreciate you share this knowledge and these topics, which is very, very relative to my day-to-day issues.
Well, thank you, Payman. I really do appreciate that. And coming from an individual who is in your position, I find that particularly edifying because you are my target audience. I need the people who are running organizations to understand how much conflict is upsetting their business processes and operations and impacting their return on investment and the bottom line. And you mentioned about the fifth industrial revolution and that we're going to now focus again on people management. And I was intently listening because I was looking for those parallels that you were talking about. And like you said, we had the Spanish flu that was huge, and then now we've got COVID that's been huge. And what we're seeing in both of those is, to your point, that now we're having to focus on how are we going to integrate the disruption that has occurred in people management, in engaging people, in in actually having them find a reason, find their motivation, find what is going to speak with them so that they can positively contribute to their organizations. So I think you are completely spot on when you're talking about it's going to be imperative that as leaders, whether you're at the C-suite or whether, and of course, I like to start at the C-suite because that's where it begins. I mean, we've got to have that leadership that says, we're embracing this, we realize how important this is, and then having their leadership team get on board and understand how it's going to affect margins and culture. If you're a multinational organization like you are, cultural aspects. One of the things that we know about conflict is that a lot of times it's just, and I say just, but truly, it is a communication breakdown. Someone did not get the message the way that it was intended to be received. And we're becoming a much smaller world now. And when we are able to bridge those gaps rather than burn down the bridge, that's going to just go a long way in helping us to really collaborate with one another, which is what we really want, help to find win-win solutions. And it inherently helps people to feel more in control. And as much as we can say, sometimes we have to let it go, realize there's a higher power and he's in control. We are in control over our day-to-day operations. And when we feel out of sorts because we have a team member who's sabotaging, or because there's a business unit who is somehow or other, they're falling 6 weeks behind on their project management process, basically what we know is that it's somewhere come down to that communication. So finding a way that people can dialogue, that they can have these courageous conversations, and that's what I've termed them, courageous conversations, because it's those conversations that, man, you really don't want to have them, but you have to have them because otherwise nothing is going to change. So I sincerely appreciate that, Payman, and your insights. And Ed, thank you for bringing the world together. I've not met Payman. I hope that at some point in time I do get to meet you personally. That would be lovely. I just discovered that both of you have an interest of mine, which is SHRM. I'm involved at the local and the national level working with SHRM headquarters. And so I know how important it is that human resource professionals especially get a handle on how we can best take care of the needs of our employees, so our employees are not burdened with other stresses and they can take care of the business at hand for the organization. It's a real symbiotic relationship, isn't it? I mean, the more that we can keep our employees happy, then the happier they will be, and the more that they will keep our stakeholders happy, regardless of whether we're talking about clients or shareholders or whatever. Yeah. So I think I got off on a tangent there.
No, it's just great that you guys are linking here.
Something that's really neat is that the Bridge School partners with various organizations to provide learning for their students. For example, we partner with a major ballet company, and we are able to enroll several of their students into our school. So now not only is the student able to participate in a school and have a seamless transition while they're very active in their ballet career, but now they have other dancers that are with them that are doing some of the same courses. So it's almost becoming a camaraderie where they're taking similar courses, they're working together on their ballet, and really being able to form this great partnership with these organizations to provide a needed service. A lot of times there are student athletes who will spend hours and hours at the gym or at the basketball courts, wherever it is. And if they're attending a traditional school, they're in school from 8 to 3. They get a quick snack, and then they're at the gym for 3 to 4 hours in the evening. Coming to us and having that partnership, they're able to break that up throughout the day. They can have a morning practice, get some schooling in, have an afternoon practice, finish their schooling in the evening. So there's that flexibility. And additionally, if there are tournaments or performances, it's fantastic because if there's a week where they have shows straight through, they can take that week off of learning and then pick back up when they're done. So it offers this great flexibility. And for the program owners of these sports leagues, it is a win-win situation for them because they see this need. They see this need that their students need to make sure that they are obtaining the grades necessary to be successful adults in our country and in other countries. But it provides them an environment where they can be successful at both.
So it's really interesting. Yesterday, this is a bit of a sad note, but it's tied in exactly with what we're talking about. Yesterday, I got a message that Ed Eckert died suddenly. He was 61. And Ed and I, he's from New Jersey, and we met at SHRM in the exhibit halls in like 03, okay, 04 era, which was just around the same time, I think, Payman, you and I met. But so Ed at the time was standing in the booth of Mercer, which is a large consultancy, and I was walking around trying to find advertisers for a magazine that I was publishing called Corporate Relocation News. And I had learned that I need to have more international articles way back then, okay? So I was walking around trying to find people who wanted to write articles. And if I could do that, then I figured I could sell some ads too. But this guy took me under his wing and says, as you walk around this exhibit hall, this is, I don't know where it was. I think it might have been in Washington, D.C., not in Vegas at that time in that big convention center. He says, you got to talk to people who are in what's called global HR, all right? It's the coming thing. It's already here, but it's coming and coming and coming because more companies outside of the US are involved, and companies in the US need to learn more and grow global mindset having to do with managing people from across borders, time zones, and cultures. Never mind from across silos. So he says, you need to change the name of your magazine, all right? And that will almost overnight make a change in your business. So I said, okay, tell me. And he says, call it Global HR, nothing else. And then you can have a tagline underneath it that says bringing people together, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And almost immediately, I began getting articles and interest from SHRM people in their global mobile sector. And I met all the executives and different advertisers, and they all jumped in. And so my business, I still have that. It's on our website and the originals. And so that's from a long time ago when it was print and glossy, and each one cost like $100,000 to do. My God, it was so expensive. And so it's interesting. So may he rest in peace, but I'm forever grateful to Ed Eckert for that. So
and have the dynamics of business changed? I mean, it struck me when you said $100,000 each to publish that, and now information is basically free, right? I mean, you just Google something, and there it is.
I know. I used to hire the writers. I used to hire the typesetters and the people who did the graphics thing with the type. Oh my God! Never mind the printing. And at the time, we printed in Hong Kong, and we printed in Seoul. And this was like a long time ago. And I used a broker in LA, and we never had a problem, and we saved a lot of money. It was still expensive, but far less expensive than if I kept it domestically here.
So you were
So
practicing what you preach with the global outreach.
So here we are today, and we're doing Zoom. And a year ago, I didn't want to be seen on camera, but I've combed my hair, so here we are. So payment, I have hair, so I got to comb it. So Melinda, your hair is gorgeous, and so tell us about this book, okay? So give us the insight, particularly when you're dealing, like for instance, that Harvard Club thing that you did, and that era, when you were dealing with attorneys and business leaders, how did they view your book and the bravado that you show up with, and to say, hey, stop fighting things, work it out?
Yeah.
So how do you deal with that? What do you do?
Ed, I think that, thank you for that question. I think that what happened was on the break after I had given my talk, and there were some really phenomenal speakers at that conference, but at the break, I was really surprised because I became inundated with people that wanted to speak with me, because the whole message is about, we know that we need to resolve the conflict. And I think that people have been reticent about actually resolving conflict simply because they don't know how. There was never a walk me through a process where I know how to actively approach conflict, bring the best interest that will serve the situation in the organization. And so I had CEOs of companies, I had accountants, I had attorneys, and they were saying, I don't like to have these conversations. I get a pit in my stomach. I would really rather have a hot poker in my eye. That's what one of them told me. I'd rather have a hot poker in my eye than have to resolve conflict. And he said, but when you walk through the process, when you walk through the positive approach, and you talked about just step by step by step, what I need to do and what I need to consider and how I need to position myself. And I call it the 3 C's of leadership communication. It's a new, I'm going to have to put it in the next writing. And that is, leaders need to communicate with confidence, with clarity, and now especially with compassion. So Payman had mentioned earlier about how we're going to be moving into situations where we are not really sure what's going to be happening. We've got employees that some of them are going to be working remotely completely. Others are going to be going back into the office. Others are going to be working in a hybrid situation. And so I think what this, I know that what the book has done is given people a structure that they can actually strategically think about, okay, now how am I going to address the needs of the individuals who want to come in? Because there are people who do want to go back to work. They don't want to work at home anymore. And there are individuals that want to stay at home. Well, remember about a year and a half ago, people would go to their bosses and say, I'd really like to work from home. And they go, oh, no, you can't. Your job, there's no way you can work from home. Well, that's out the door, right? And so how are they going to address those individuals who want to work from home? And then also, how are we going to make it quote unquote fair for people, they want to have that hybrid situation. And I think that there is room enough for all of those things to happen, but it's going to depend upon people being able to enter into a dialogue, especially during COVID, because I think a lot of people were a lot more on social media. But, we had people that were unfriending people and, they were cutting people off. And even on LinkedIn, some of the conversations got, a little heated. And I'm thinking, dang, we're adults, and all we need to do is have a dialogue where one person can express their views and another person can express their views, but we have emotion. And everything that we do, every decision that we make in our life is based upon emotions. And some people can handle those emotions well. Some people come off as a cold fish with emotions. Some people come across as too emotional. And so the book and the positive approach gives people that 8 simple steps to take any situation from breakdown to breakthrough and help them move through everything they need to plan to have a courageous conversation, whether it's managing colleagues, managing employees, or even managing up. Because, that's an aspect I think that is often overlooked, is that managing up. And it's because people are like, oh, I can't tell my, superiors what I think. Yes, you can, because they are relying on you to bring information that maybe they haven't thought about, or because they're operating at a higher level, right? Their thoughts and ideas are on more strategically minded things. So they have to have people who are going to have the courage to bring in information about things that are going to impact the strategy if they do take an action or if they don't take an action. So I think that's been the real bonus for people. And then learning to use the conversational intelligence from Judith Glaser, who was a professor at Harvard. And she is credited with inventing, if you will, CIQ, which is conversational intelligence. And that's using I-centric, you-centric, and we-centric language so that we make the conversations not defensive based, that people can enter into a conversation knowing that it's exploratory, that we're not trying to prove them wrong, we're seeking success solutions. And I think that the more we can get, it's the soft skills that are going to matter for individuals now. And the powerful part is with technology and with us being physically apart from one another, those soft skills have kind of gone by the wayside. I feel like I'm in a Hollywood Squares box.
Exactly.
Today, right?
Yeah.
And so how do we, how do I connect with someone in a box? And we can do it, but not to the extent that we do when we're in the workplace or when we're at a conference and we're meeting people and we're laughing and it's spontaneous and we can see the body language and we have all of that richness of communication that we can draw upon, the words, the context, the body language, the facial expressions, the tone of voice that we don't get in this box. And we really need to have instruction on how do we reestablish that? Because I think we're at a loss right now on really having any conversation, let alone having a courageous conversation.
Thank you so much for that deep dive. So, Payman, people in Iran and across the CIS where you do business, they're the same, aren't they? They're dealing with the same issues, right?
Yes, that's true. But the level of the maturity in the various countries is different, obviously, and the level of the infrastructure. When the COVID hit the world, I think some countries, they weren't prepared to work from home. And the commuting and telecommuting was not a new concept in Europe, in North America. As Melinda was mentioning, some people, they were asking for telecommuting in the past, and companies, they had the policies, infrastructure, and the system in place, and it was recognized by regulatories as well, the labor ministries, labor department, and so forth. In the less developed or developing countries, these concepts were not present. And when the COVID hits, the whole thing's changed. In the same time, as I mentioned, the digital transformation reached the developing world and underdeveloped world the same time. the ideas of the Uber is all of a sudden is all over the Middle East. And there are companies copycatting that, or the digital retailing like Amazon. Again, these all happen over the night. These things happen where the conflicts and this transformation from the old way of working to new way of working, and for the society, which they were very close and they were tribal, all of a sudden feeling this distance. For instance, one of the challenges in my company we were facing, many people are their loyalty is not to the organization, their loyalty is towards their manager, and they work for their managers rather than for the organization. And all of a sudden, the COVID has changed everything because they were not involved with their manager anymore. And Melinda was mentioned that now they were supposed to work with the box, and this box didn't have the feeling, it didn't have a body language, it couldn't be touched. And the people here, they used to have this intimacy and closeness by touching each other. They were hugging and they were kissing, and all of a sudden everything it's evaporated, and that has caused a lot of new challenges for managing people. And I can mention a couple things which now it's a trend now. The number one, I think the most important things which now we are facing in the managing people is the issue of the life expectancy. The life expectancy has changed. Few years back, the 50 years old or 60 years old, they were ready to be retired. Now they are as productive as the 40 years old guy in the 20 years ago, 50 years ago. And they don't want to leave the office. And they can contribute to the company. That's a new reality. The number two is the millennium generation. This generation which they grow up with the digital devices, the Facebook, with the Twitters, with the all kind of the communication tools, which our generation, we never had this opportunity to experience this, and expressing themselves with emoji, with the various abbreviations which are universal. The other thing which now we are seeing a lot of changes is the freelance work. The freelance work is growing rapidly in the Middle East, and especially in Iran is very interesting that the people now they find opportunity elsewhere, and they are connected to the companies all over the world, and they do, especially in the IT world, now it's very challenging for the company in Iran to find even the programmer, because the programmers, they got into this freelance work and they can work for any company anywhere around the world. And as a consequence, today we have no time constraint for the job, no place constraint for the job either. Therefore, around the clock, the people that can work around the world, and the productivity can go rapidly grow. These are the real challenges which now, as Melinda mentioned it very correctly, the conflict resolutions and the managing these conflicts between the different cultures, different expectations, different tools of working without having the intimacy which the many people they were accustomed to it. It's become essential for managing people.
Excellent. Thank you for that commentary and insight into the people. And I'm sure 99% of our audience will find that absolutely first-time intelligence information. So it's very, very cool. So, Melinda, what do you think of what Payman has just described?
Well, I love the part about the impact of life expectancy and how that's impacting, because we've got conflict in the workplace simply because of values, and the way that we have approached things. So to his point, we've got the 60 plus who are still feeling very viable and are bringing with them either bringing a lot of either institutional knowledge or just experience knowledge. And maybe things are changing, and they are, but there's something to be said from getting a degree from the School of Hard Knocks, where you have gone through situations and a better way to handle things, rather than, and I mean a constructive way to handle things. I'm not just saying that, oh, this is a better way, a constructive in terms of employees and organizations, one that's going to significantly positively impact that organization. And then we've got the millennials, and I think they're calling them Generation C now. I heard this just the other day, and that they are bringing in, we're living, the group of children now have never, the majority of them, the vast majority of them, have never not been without a computer. They've always had a computer. Now, when I was in college, and I'm going to date myself, I was using punch cards to run computer programs and praying that I didn't drop the punch cards as I was trying to get them from the puncher to the processor. And then when personal computers were introduced, it was like, don't touch that button unless you know exactly what it's going to do. Well, and we're a bit beyond that now, but there are individuals who have opted out of the workplace because they don't want to deal with the technology. But there are others of us who have embraced it and like it and realize everything that it can do for us. But there's still that, you think I'm not productive. Oh, I want to give you a personal example real quick, if I may. I had an administrative assistant, and one day we were at a meeting. We had these planning meetings, and I was telling her about a one-pager I wanted to develop. And she had her phone, right? And she was sitting across from me, and I'm talking with her about the collateral I want on the one-pager and the information that's going to be the most salient, and possible pictures and possible settings that we can give, because I was targeting a specific audience. And I was just about, and this has been going on for a while, and I was just about to say, Savannah, are you getting what I'm saying? Are you listening? And right as I was about to utter those words, she turned her phone around and she said, do you mean like this? And so there it was. In the time that I am explaining what I want, she's already got the daggone thing put together. So, man, you talk about, that could have been a situation. Well, I'm glad that everything worked out in the timing that it did, but you can see where that could have been a situation that could have been a really conflict situation. But when we can learn to dialogue, when we can learn to work with a person and bring out their strengths, millennials know things that I don't know, and I want to learn from them. When I'm talking about setting up mentoring programs, I'm not talking about setting up a mentoring program in an organization where it's just the more experienced person that's mentoring the younger person. It's a two-way street. They both have a lot to offer, and that's how we're going to grow great organizations, is letting everybody bring their value and their strengths and play strengths and weaknesses on one another. And that just makes just a beautiful whole picture for everybody.
Payman, in your realm of managing all these people and cross borders in that part of the world, is this realistic? Is this happening, or is it?
Exactly. I can share with you these challenges which I face day to day. I mean, I have a founder who is in his mid-70s. He made his empire based on his own work, and he works 18 hours per day. 7 days a week. Now we have a millennium who have a different values. They want to be staying with their family. They want to work from home. And it was very interesting when the COVID hit and we asked him not to come to office, this Mr. Soleimani, who is the founder of this company. And I asked him for his own sake, don't come to office. And we set up his home to be a home office. And we put the camera, we put the big LCD and everything like his office. And we start teaching him how to use these web-based conferences and the web meetings. And now he is saying that why people are not present from 8 to 8 o'clock at evening at the work. And he has all this conflict, and his son, who is going to be his successor, always they have this conflict because he believes in marketing, he believes in branding, he believes in the packaging, he believes on the customization, he believes in the customer, consumers and customers experience, he believes in machinery, he believes in the manufacturing. And always these two generations are in the constant conflict. Now in a company as well, from one side, we have the managers who are very reluctant to work remotely. Now they have to manage this young generation who are, as Melinda was mentioning, they can do everything by their mobile. Even they can attend the meetings from their bedroom.
Yep.
Without having any problem. I mean, these are the day-to-day conflicts, and also the technology made it a very different upper hand to the new generation. For instance, in the past, for every meeting, it was very difficult to take a minute of the meetings. Now there are softwares which convert the conversation to the text immediately. And there is no need for the secretary to take the notes. I mean, these are a very, very interesting opportunity and at the same time threats, because some people, they get threats by all these things happening. I mentioned in other talk we had a few weeks back, as you remember, I said in the past on the recruitment advertising, you never experienced to see a word remote. Now, when you go to the LinkedIn, you go to the Google, and when you search for the job, there are many, many companies.
Yeah.
They post the job, and
Could you
they
ask him to at least go in the backyard? He's got work to do back there.
It's mentioned as a remote.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
that's all right. Life. It's life.
I'm so sorry.
Anyway,
I
think,
thought my mute button was working.
No, we've heard about your backyard. Yeah.
I'm
Payman,
so sorry, Payman. That was terribly rude, and I apologize.
No. It happens.
Payman, this is an MBA conversation. I tell you, learning about reality today, the reality of people management, thousands of miles away from where I am in California. And to hear that, well, it's so similar, it's the same thing, and yet there's very little interaction between Americans and your people, and we're seeing, I mean, under the umbrella here, Melinda, of the power of conflict resolution.
Ed, I wanted to interrupt you. When I was growing up, the things was word was apart. Where you grow up compared to where I grew up, it was a lag of things happening, and the experiences were not the same. I mean, you could watch a TV or going to the movie, which it would come to my country maybe months after that. Now, the whole world, they are experiencing the same thing on the real time. Yep. I mean, the kids, they are online on the Facebook all over the world, they are watching the same series which the people in the US or in China, they are watching. There is a universal experience which in the past it was not possible. That's a big difference. Today, I can say, when we were talking about earlier you mentioned about the global news, and I say, not long back ago, we were talking about the international company, the company who were exporting goods and services to other countries. Now, there are companies today which they are like a nation. You cannot draw a border about their practices. For us, for instance, in our region now today, I mean, we cannot operate without other countries for the supply chain, from the manufacturing, from the sales and distribution. All there are like a network tied to each other. We cannot separate it anymore. Therefore, I think is a different reality today.
Thank you.
If I might add, you know what the one commonality is in all of those organizations, all of those things that you just mentioned, Payman? People. There's a human being that we are going to interact with somehow. And if we don't get a handle on how to communicate within our cultures, let alone communicate across cultures and appreciate the differences and the strengths that they bring, then we're going to really continue to struggle with moving into what could be really even greater prosperity and abundance, not only the bottom line for organizations, but for individuals as well.
Exactly. I mean, I can give you one more example just now. Please. In our conversation. I mean, when I was in college, to find a book about resolution, conflict resolution, I would have gone to library, search the library for finding a book which is titled or it has a subject of the conflict resolution. Today, as Melinda publishes her book in US, I have it here miles away, and I'm having the same experience as her clients they have, and who reads in the US the same book. The only thing I think in next few years, which would change the whole world, which now Google has done a lot of work on that, is the instant translation. I think it's not far away from our understanding today that very soon we would have a conversation at 4 people around the world that are speaking their own native languages, and we hear our own language
right through here.
We have a conversation.
Exactly, like they do at the United Nations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That would be great. That would be a great teleconference.
Yeah. Love that.
And I think it's not far away. We are not far away from that. And the books as well. The books as well. I mean, many books.
I hope so, because I would like to have my book translated into other languages. I think it's an important enough piece of work that could really benefit people. So Payman, we need to take this offline and talk about how we can get it translated into our.
Sure. Yeah, definitely we can discuss that.
So Melinda, why don't you talk to us about your latest speech and speaking roles? Are you talking about conflict resolution, or are you into a new training?
I'm actually doing a lot of work with an organization. It's a multinational organization called Sedgwick, and they are we're taking different aspects of leadership development. Right now, we're focusing on something that's it's coaching, but it's also called situational leadership. And it's a nice tie-in to the conflict resolution because it helps us to determine how do we posture ourselves depending upon the person and the situation and open the dialogue. But then the coaching is helping to not use it so much as in a performance improvement, but more to help up level people. They're our greatest assets. They're our greatest resources. And so what can we do to up level their skills to help them be more engaged so they don't leave us abruptly because something else looks more attractive?
Thank you, Melinda.
Yeah, of course.
Payman, what do you think of that?
I think today, I learned a lot about this conversation, and I think in what this conversation brought us, for me at least, it's to look more in depth to see how we can manage people, how we can manage this new way of working and tying the people together.
I agree.
I don't know.
Thank you.
Did I miss something on the conversation? Because for a few seconds, I lost the conversation voices. If I made a mistake, please let me know.
I don't think you made any mistake, and thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your earnestness and for being on Global TV Talk Show once again. And I welcome you back as we go forward. So with another author by the name of Stephen Howard, who's written 21 books over the years on leadership. He's based here in California. He and I are partnering on 2 series, and we're looking for collaborators going forward. Both are launching in April, and will go through the end of the year on a bi-weekly basis. The first one is going to be on leadership in the post-COVID era. And your idea of situational leadership is an interesting thing. I was just making some notes, Melinda. So I'll mention it to Stephen, and we'll put you guys together and see about when you might be available. And the other one, Payman, which might interest you as well, is wellness in the workplace in the post-COVID era. And it has to do with mental, a lot of,
I know that there is a lot of now discussion about mindfulness. There's a new topics which it's been a lot of books and discussion all over the universities and lectures about it.
Yeah, so I welcome you to join that, and I'll keep you informed. So Melinda Stallings, thank you so much. I wish you well, and it's great to see your pendant celebrating New Orleans Saints. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's great. Always with you. And Payman Dayani, it's an honor to have you back on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ed, for having me. Thank you, Melinda. It was great meeting you. And I really
to meet you as well.
Enjoy having a conversation with you.
Great.
Yeah, we'll definitely connect. Ed, thank you so much. You're such a gracious host and ask amazing questions, and always a delight to be on with you.
Well, thank you, and producer Paul putting this all together. I thank you for being involved in the background, and we'll close the show now. It's 10:03 in the morning here in California, and I got to get a cup of coffee. Ciao.
Excellent. Thank you. Have a great
day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us in the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show.
Have a wonderful day, and stay safe.